you have to hit okay. Anyway.
Just turn me on, turn me up, and turn me loose.
And we're live. House, what you up to?
Oh man, just been holding the recliner down today. About it.
What's temperature down there? It's supposed to get close to 60 this week. Thank God.
It's like probably 63 outside right now.
Man, I wish it was here. Get rid of this snow on the ground.
Yeah.
Hello everyone. We got 50 watching live right off the get-go. We've got a lot of people in chat. Moderators, thank you for being here. Everybody in chat, hello. Squirrel will be back momentarily. She is currently, this is no shit. She just jumped off. She said she'll be back in a few minutes. There is a coyote out in the field around her house, and she's going to go check it out because it might get near her goats. And it's probably got rabies, and I got $50 that says she tries to catch it and make it a pet.
Oh yeah, she'll be out there trying to hug it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we might as well just get on with the show. I mean, it's not like we need Squirrel.
She'll be back. She'll be back. I mean, you know, I'm telling you, she'll be out there wanting to pet the damn thing.
Yeah, I want that dog.
I mean, we warned her about, hey, it's probably got rabies, so, you know, she don't believe anything we say, so, hey, who knows?
Yeah, this is the same thing when you take her out somewhere, you know, like a Kumbo. She's walking off down the road and into the woods in the middle of the night by herself. Going out there after we just heard the boogers yell. Yeah, that's what she does.
Well, that's that no fear attitude she's got.
Hey, by the way, there is it's been starred. It's up at the top. It is a link for Sherry and Donna's new show, which is going to be on YouTube tonight at 5 o'clock. And remind me at the end, we'll throw the link back up in the chat at the end of it, and we'll throw the banner up so everybody can go over there at 5 o'clock. I reckon that's Eastern time.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's Eastern time.
Yeah, and then that way everybody can go support Sherry and Donna. Anyway, you might as well bring Danny out. Ain't no point in keeping Danny in the back. Danny, how you doing?
Hello, gentlemen. How you doing?
Hey, man.
Greg, how's it going?
Oh, man, just getting by. It's just another day, man. I've had a little bit of activity here this last week. I had something whacked the hell out of my porch. I was in my kitchen in here, and I was doing a live chat with it was Wendell and Jeff Yarrington, Joe Parker, Patrick Noble, and me. And I was actually in here. I didn't eat till late, and I guess it was probably 10:30, 11 o'clock. I was in there in the kitchen. I was fixing something to eat. Yarrington was ratchet jawing, just blah, 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 and he was telling something. And about that time, something hit my porch post out here and shook the whole place. And I was going, whoa, you know, like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I know Patrick, he heard something, and he saw me trying to get everybody to stop. And Jeff was just going on. And finally, we got him calmed down and didn't hear anything else. Didn't do anything else. He hit the porch one time, and I mean, it was loud when it hit. And the oddest part of the whole deal was Flat Rock was on there with us, but it wasn't odd he was on there, but Flat Rock was on there with us. And just about the time it took for me to tell them, hey, something just hit this post, we're looking at Flat Rock. Well, then we hear his wife. She's saying something to him, and she's pretty damn excited. And he's going, what? I thought that was you. And you hear her basically going, hell no, it wasn't me. And he's like, well, he just like looks back at the camera and goes, hell, one just hit my house. I mean, it couldn't have been over like 60 seconds from the time one hit my house to one hit his house. And he's about 4 hours away from me.
Well, they realized you were online and he was online, and so they know each other and they're chatting back and forth.
They want to be on YouTube.
It was weird, man. I'm telling you, it was weird. But yeah, but it was just awful strange. I mean, you know, they got to where they don't hit my house as much as they used to, or my cabin, but they still do it from time to time. But it was just absolute crazy that it hit here and hit it all the way down at Flat Rocks within a minute or so apart.
How far apart do you guys live?
It's probably about a 4-hour drive. It's
okay.
It's at least 200, maybe 220 miles from here to his place. So I don't know. Maybe the moon was pulling them, making them edgy. I don't know what was going on.
Hey, there's Jeff. He said he was doing something else. I wonder if he was sleeping.
No, he wasn't asleep that night because he was blah, 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 blah. He was wide open. But now, don't get me wrong. Before we got off there, I think he dozed off on us. That's pretty frequent.
The other night, it was so funny. He was sitting there, and I think Jerry had to cut his mic for him 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Yarrington is, you know, apparently he may or may not have narcolepsy, but the boy don't sleep. He don't sleep but about 2 hours a night, and the rest of the time, you know, he's working like 18, 19 hours a day, and then he's all he can be. So when he gets still, he goes out.
Daggone, that's some long hours. I've put in long hours like that. They're tough, and it takes you a couple of days to get over them.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the glory of being a milk farmer or cattle farmer milking cows. They work hard.
And I've got 46 years of retail, and when I used to work for Lowe's and I was in upper management, we'd come in at noon and they'd say, hey, you know, we got company coming tomorrow. Corporate's going to be here, or regional manager's going to be here. Make sure it looks good. So next thing I know, I'm up till noon the next day. So I would have been up from 6 o'clock that morning till noon the next day, up into the next evening. And it takes a couple of days. And now that I'm 60, that's when I was in my 40s. But now that I'm 60, it would be tough to do that.
Yeah, well, I can't say anything, dude. I hadn't slept since yesterday morning. I've been up all night. But I don't sleep much either. I mean, I really don't. So.
Yeah, I haven't slept too good this week, and I've been busy at work, and it's just been a fun week because I've actually this is weird. Then we can get things going here. Me only been doing this for a couple years. I've had like 6 people contact me in the past 2.5 weeks about being on a podcast just to talk about stuff.
Cool.
And I mean, I love talking about stuff, and I love talking to people, and I enjoy people. I guess that's why I've done so good for retail. And
yeah.
But I want to say hey to everybody. I see Old Line Patrick. Hey Patrick. I saw Wendell out there.
Wendell's turned into a wolf man on us. I was giving him down the road. He looked like a Wolverine statue or figurine that you had ordered off Temu.
Does he have the claws? Do you have the claws?
It is pretty cool. He's got his beard growed out like 2 spots and shaved in the middle.
Oh
yeah,
man.
I don't know what he's Hugh Jackman type look or something. I don't know what he's got going on.
Oh no.
I was dogging him this morning about. I told Jamie Ginner we was going to try to get Wendell to wear a down flea and tick collar. Said he was howling.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, get us started, Spencer.
I mean, maybe. we get going with the show here. Danny, for everybody that doesn't know you, now don't go on a 30-minute tirade. But where are you from? How did you get into this? What's the deal? Give us a breakdown.
Okay. I live in Southern West Virginia. Lived in West Virginia all my life. Like I said, I'm 60, and I've got 46 years of retail. Um, I've been in the paranormal stuff, ghosts and Bigfoot, since probably about 12 years ago. A lot of the TV shows come out, and a lot of the ghost shows, Bigfoot shows. I just got into it, and I liked it. When I was a kid, I was scared of when I heard the term Bigfoot and UFOs and ghosts, and now I'm out in the woods, traipsing around looking for all this stuff. And I've got a Jeep. I've been into Jeeps since 16, and I've always thought, if I was going to get out in the woods, might see one. And when I found out that they were in the East Coast a couple years ago, I put a thing on Facebook. I saw a Bigfoot Facebook page, and I was like, I just wonder. It was inquisitive, so I was like, has anybody seen anything in Southern West Virginia? And immediately I got 11 hits, and I can remember that because I remember the 11th one on the bottom. And they started talking to me, and I started talking to more people, and they said, well, watch this podcast. You need to contact this person because they saw this. This person saw that. Watch this YouTube channel. I got to watching Small Town Monsters. I got to meet my mentor, the man with the plan, Les Odell. He's very big here in West Virginia and Pennsylvania and Seminole High. And he's been into the paranormal for about 14 years-ish. And I've been listening to him and trying to learn as much as I possibly can, and then watching podcasts to learn from what other people have and what other people talk about, no matter whether it's which I happened to stumble across Roger's Squatch and Holler back last summer, and I just enjoyed listening to him and Amanda, and then Ashley came on board, and I watched Scott and Sheila Granger and Les come out with his podcast several years ago, and I was watching that, West Virginia Cryptids and Strange Encounters. And my friend Bill Rigby up in Pennsylvania, Agents of the Unexplained. And it's just interesting to talk to people about something that you don't know about and listen to stuff that people have seen, whether they've seen some kind of strange structure or footprints that they can't explain, or something that they've seen somewhere, or something run across the road or something.
I think it does everybody good to listen to, especially the people that are like not hugely well known in the field, because sometimes they'll have more basic boots on the ground kind of information. You can get more out of somebody like that than listening to, like, say, for example, an episode of Sasquatch Chronicles where it's talking about we saw one run across the street. And I think you get more information out of talking to people, especially the people that go out and actually look for them, and the people that live near them or have them come through their property. You do get a lot of information that way. So, so when did you actually start? When did you make up your mind to start going out and like actually looking for these things yourself?
When I posted that on Facebook, that was the fall of, I want to say, September of 23. And between then and the summer of 24, which was July, about late June, July, I decided, I'm going to try this. I'm gonna go out. And I finally got to the point where I met a friend of mine, Beth, and I asked if I could come down to her farm, which she had seen multiple times, a Squatch that she named, and they trade stuff back and forth. And there's a lot of activity on that farm. And I had no knowledge of what to do. This was my first outing. I had my phone with paranormal apps on it. I had my tent a cot, my Jeep Gladiator, and that's about it. And I packed me a snack. And as I was leaving, my wife said, "You're going where? Doing what with somebody you don't know in the middle of nowhere?" I was like, yeah. She was really mad until like a couple days later, whenever I told her my whole story. And when I got down to the farm, I walked around with her brother and showed me different areas and different things. And there's a family cemetery, and somewhere near there, they can't find it, but there's an Indian burial ground. And that evening, after walking around, driving around a little bit and checking things out, I decided I was going to lay down for about an hour or so. And then I woke up and it was already dark, probably about 10 or so. And I drove around and checked the cemetery out and got some activity on my ghost apps in different places around the farm. And it was rainy, foggy. I mean, you couldn't see very far. And just by driving around, I put my phone on the camera and was trying to video driving down the road. And it was almost like on Star Wars when they do hyperspace, the stars coming at them. I was like, well, that ain't going to work. And about 11 o'clock, I decided just to, lay down. Like I said, I didn't have a sleeping bag. I just had my cot. And my tent's about 7 foot tall, 7.5 foot tall. It's almost like a pop-up canopy and folds out the same way. And I just laid down on my cot, had all 4 windows open on it. And by the time I got to sleep, it was about, it was the 21st of July. And about 2:30, I was laying there and I just opened up my eyes and kind of looked up a little bit. And there was something standing there looking at me. And it was about 4 foot away. And this thing was probably about 7.5 foot tall. It had it was dark, but it was light enough with the fog that you could see. And it was kind of a brownish color, reddish brownish color hair. The skin on the face was kind of dark, and the eyes, they weren't glowing, but they were like yellow. You could see yellow eyes. And the shape of the nose was like a normal human type nose. It wasn't the boxer type nose or the gorilla type nose that people talk about. And I got about a 4-second, and then I just kind of blinked my eyes and shook my head. And when I did that, opened up my eyes and it was gone. And the whole time I was thinking, I was like, am I dreaming? Did I see something? And I just kind of closed my eyes and went right back to sleep. When I sleep and go to sleep, I'm like Jeff, I'm out. And yes, I snored pretty good. And I got up the next morning, walked around the tent. Like I said, I didn't know what to look for except for the traditional footprint. And I just looked around, and where my tent was just at the end of a gravel road because I was underneath a high tension line in the tower. And I just kind of like, well, I'll just walk around a little bit. I walked around the farm and then I left. And I kept thinking of this, and several days later, the next weekend, I come back to the farm and was talking with the family, and Beth and I went up to the location where my tent was. And where the tent was, if you know what the terminology of a Y stick is, they say that Y sticks, they leave them for friendship, for acknowledgement. They say that they leave them, because they like you. And right where my tent was laying was 2. One about where the door was, and the other one where it was standing. And they were only a couple feet. So,
hey, Danny, are you watching the show somewhere other than the computer that you're doing this on?
I've got my phone right here.
Because there's some backfeed, there's some reverberation.
You you watch it on the phone, but just turn your volume all the way down
On my,
on your phone.
how's that? I don't know. I've not had a problem. Let me try something here. I'm sorry, guys.
That's all right. I'm not hearing it on here on my computer.
I'm not hearing it. How's that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not hearing it right now at the moment. It was definitely echoing.
Oh, I don't know what is on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever it's
on. I mean, I don't know.
I can hear you really good, so I mean, it's fine. We'll just keep going with it.
Okay.
So you went back and found Y sticks on the ground.
Yeah, and right beside the tent, about 15 feet, there is some high grass, and in the middle of that high grass, or right at the edge of the high grass, it was probably about 4 foot tall, and there was a little area about 3 foot, 4 foot, something like that. It was trumped down, like something had been standing there watching me, or watching the tent, or seeing what was going on. And my wife kidded me about my snoring, and she said, "Well, this thing heard you snoring, and it was checking you out." And
Making sure you were okay.
yeah, I guess I hope. And I contacted Les, my buddy Les Odell, and this is the part I never can remember how I stated it and how he stated it to me, but we were talking back and forth, and he said basically I had an experience, and the more and more I think about it, I can still see this thing in my head, which I don't know what to call it. I don't know what to call it. A creature, a being, a critter, thing. I usually call them squatches. The term Bigfoot, I like the term, but I mean, it's just something different.
Okay. That's a squatch.
Squatch.
Did you smell anything whenever you woke up?
No, I didn't smell anything. I didn't hear anything. Even as I was laying back down, I never heard anything. And I never smelled anything all evening. And that's everybody says they have the smell, or they sense the smell, or they've smelled something.
Yeah.
And I've talked to people that have never smelled anything.
Yeah.
And
they don't smell all the time.
And I've heard stories, and I've watched podcast people talking about them, and they say, "Well, I was sitting there and we was watching the fire, and all of a sudden we started smelling something, and we heard something and looked over, and there this thing stood." I had no campfire, so I mean, I never smelled nothing. It was just odd, I guess. I don't know.
Just curious, did you cook anything before you went to sleep?
No, I had no campfire. I might have ate some crackers or something, but I didn't have much food wise.
But you said this was on a farm where the owners had multiple sightings.
Yeah. She had multiple sightings herself. Her brother, and I think it was his daughter, was riding a 4-wheeler one day and got rocks, some little pebbles and sticks thrown at him, and he had a pistol on, I think it was, and he got hit in the pistol.
Really?
And he side but with a rock, and she got hit with a stick, and he was on back. She was on back with him.
Well, I don't know how you went straight back to sleep after that, but good on you.
Well, like I said, my wife says I can go to sleep just about anywhere, which I can. That's the bad part. And Jeff puts me to shame. I thought I was the only one. I'm sorry, Jeff. I keep slamming you, buddy, but I loved it, and I love you.
Well, all right. Well, after you went back and you found where the grass was pushed down and the rocks or the sticks and everything, which we've got some pictures, y'all. We'll do the pictures here in a little bit, but
yeah.
So I assume you told the lady whose property it was about it and everything, and
yeah, I talked to her about it that week, and then I told her that I asked her about coming down the next weekend, and I went over and we walked around where I was at. We walked around different places of the farm, and I had found on that Sunday morning that right before I left, the morning after I saw it, this is kind of funny, a tennis racket hanging in a tree. It was a green tennis racket just hanging there about 5 foot off the ground. And I asked her, I said, what's the deal with the tennis racket up by the pond? And she said, what tennis racket? And I showed her the picture. And she said, oh my God. She said, that was in my outbuilding. He's come down and got that. And like I said, it would come and get things off of her, out of her buildings, and bring stuff to her. She would take stuff up there and leave it, like tennis balls or apples or whatever, and then it would bring like feathers, bones, sticks to her place. She said she would go out. She had a little gate in front of her porch that at the end of their walk where her yard was fenced in, and she would go out and there would be sticks stuck down in the gate. And you know how chain link fence, you can't just, you kind of like almost have to weave it. She said it would be stuck down in there like that, a stick or a feather, not just through the hole, but kind of stuck in a couple of the places. And I've seen it. She left one in there for a while.
Like to talk to her. Well, yeah. What else happened? What happened after that? Did you ever go back to that farm?
I've been back multiple times. I had I tried to learn how to use game cameras that first year.
Yeah, doesn't everybody?
Because I've never used one. I've hunted when I was a kid, and when game cameras come out, they were like way expensive, and you had to put film in them and then get the film developed. Well, I thought, I'll try this, and I put a game camera out on. There was an old swing set there, and I hung a Mickey Mouse in a tree about 15, 20 feet away. And never thought anything of it. About a week later, she calls me and she sent me a picture. She said, check this picture out. She said, there's a stick in the ground in front of your camera. And this stick was probably about 2.5 inches across, and it was about 4.5, 5 foot long. It was in the ground about 6 inches. And it was directly between the Mickey Mouse and the camera, and it was probably about 5 foot from the camera. And I thought, oh boy, I got something. The camera was turned off. It had never been turned on right because I didn't know how to use a camera.
Damn it, man.
So another time I went, a friend of mine told me on one of the first podcasts after I met this gentleman, he told me to try peanut butter. And at the time, at the beginning of all this was the first location I knew to go and try things out. And I took a jar of peanut butter, and I took the lid off of it and turned it upside down. And where I tie paracord and make dog collars and necklaces and Jeep grab handles and things like that, I took the paracord and wrapped it around the bottom of the jar about 3 or 4 times and tied it in a knot. Wrapped it in the middle 2 or 3 times, tied it in a knot, and at the top 2 or 3 times, tied it in a knot. It was pretty tight. I couldn't, and the tree was about the same size as the peanut butter jar. It was just a small peanut butter jar. And a few weeks later, I went back to check on that and talk to her and check a few things out. The peanut butter jar had been ripped off of the tree. It wasn't cut. It had been ripped. And I called and contacted the guys that own the company where I got the cord, and they said, Danny, he said, that ain't cut. And I said, I don't know what the deal is. And I don't know how it's been, because it was 550 paracord, and it's got 7 strands on the inside, and it's actual parachute cord. So it's pretty strong stuff.
Yeah, 550 pounds.
Yeah. And right up above it, probably about 15 20 feet. We was walking around in the woods, and there was a log that I just walked over. There was like a little path. Her kids and then play in the woods around the house, and across this log, and there was some rocks, little pea, like not like pea gravel, but river rock, and they were quarter size. And the creek was probably about 30 yards from where this was, and they were laid in the shape of something. And how these rocks got there and put right here, a bear couldn't have done it, a cat couldn't have done it, a dog couldn't have done it. Maybe a person, but her kids at that time of year don't play there. And there was some sticks along with it. I might have seen a picture of that with the little rocks. And there were some sticks laying there, and they were in some kind of formation. And I had never seen that, so that's why I took the picture of it. And then started going to a park in the southern part of the state park. And there's little structures there. There's little ones. There's big ones that nobody could have built these. And they were made out of stuff that was this big around, and little sticks, little logs, little limbs. And this stuff was probably 7, 8, 10 foot long. And some of them had rocks laying on them, which I'd never seen on podcasts, but one. And this guy, he had taken pictures of these tree stands out in the middle of nowhere back in the woods, and they had flat rocks laying on them. But what's weird, those rocks were like that. Rocks like that were nowhere near where this structure was, and would have had to been brought in from somewhere. And I've seen partial footprints there. I've seen where moss had been moved. Like, say, if you step on moss that's not to the ground very good, or growing very good on the ground, or a rock, how it moves.
Yeah.
And it looks like a footprint. Then once I did all that, and I had met up with Les and become friends with him, and he's like a brother to me now. He and I will go out. We've got probably 3 or 4 things we're doing right now we got going on.
So let's since you talked about some of these things, let's show people some of these pictures, and you can comment on them if you want to.
Okay, that's cool.
Let's see here. Speaking of which, there's the picture of the
that's
but sorry, this is the beginning of it. Let me where's this one from?
Okay, that one a friend of mine sent me from the Summersville Lake. And he had sent me this, and he said, Danny, this was gift to me, and I know you're from the Summersville area. He said, and he was telling me about where it was at, and I was like, that's pretty damn good. That's pretty good looking track. And I showed it to a couple people, and it's like, that looks like something for that area. Somebody with those shoes that have toes. And it looks like that. And I talked to a couple of people, and they said, no, that looks pretty good. And I went to that area, and come to find out that area is about a quarter of a mile where I grew up, and never even thought, in the Summersville area, anything like that would be there. And the day that I was there, I was walking around in the mud, and I found some footprints, and I took a picture of 3 of them. They were in a line. They were about 3.5 foot apart. They didn't look as good as that, but they had the toes. They were pretty deep in the mud, like those other ones I sent you. And I don't know if the mud was cold. It was kind of snowy that day, but anybody would be walking around in the mud barefoot. I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, all we can do is just draw conclusions. So,
yeah. I mean, until you see something, it's like I said, like this. I mean, I'm open-minded. I try to be an open-minded person to anything. And if I see that there's a piece of chocolate cake in front of me, that piece of chocolate cake's there. But if somebody told me that it wasn't chocolate cake, and it's not a piece of chocolate cake, I'm going to probably, check it out before I have any, to say what it is. But
Okay.
that is the
These
Les
are
and I was in a location, and we found those and a little bit bigger set of tracks together in a trackway.
yeah, pretty good castings right there.
That's the area that we found them. And I only have 10 flags in my backpack. And if you can see how many footprints and how deep those tracks are all over the place there, and there's a few deer tracks in there, and that's just a few of them. And the two to the far left underneath the D right there, those are probably about 3 foot, 3.5 foot apart.
They look to be a good ways. I don't know why that one down there like that, but for everybody watching, you can obviously tell that's fairly deep track.
Yeah, the toes are the deepest part. The toes on that one, we found that one a couple weeks later from those from where we were at right there. We found those probably about. There's another one that goes along with it. You can see how deep the front of it is,
Yeah,
compared to the back of it, and the separation of the toes. That was probably about my finger. I stuck my finger down in there, and my finger's 3.25 inches long. I measured it to make sure. So 3.25 inches long, and a person. I'm 220, and I had on a pair of boots, and you can see that deer track right beside it. So whatever it was pretty heavy that made that track.
I agree.
And that goes along with the first picture where you saw Les. That's
just trying to give people a feel for. I don't know why V keeps moving these things around where they're not in the center like this. I have to look into that now. But just trying to give people a feel for the location of where you found these things.
Well, now you can see the shoreline to the left, right there, where that little tiny point comes out underneath the Veed. The lighter color and the darker color. Well, the lighter color is the top. That's the top of the water line for the summer.
Right.
And like several lakes here in West Virginia, they're flood controlled lakes, just like Springersville Lake.
This goes to a point for anybody that's actually going out looking, looking for boogers. Something I've noticed, and I didn't realize it until LBL, till we started finding a couple trackways at LBL. But we would find them whenever they would let the lakes out, whenever they would let some of the water out, and it moves back. And a bunch of people have always said, like, hey, the boogers actually walk in the water to prevent leaving a lot of tracks. But for whatever reason, whenever they let the lakes out, they still walk in the same spot. There used to be water there, and now there's not, but they keep walking there, and then you find their trackways.
Well, something that my dad always taught me whenever I was growing up and we would go hunting, that an animal will follow it the same area. Like, say, a deer will come through this area tomorrow as it will come today. And if they stay in that same area, it'll try to stay in the same trackway. And what we think maybe that it was possibly going to the water to drink. It could have been going to the water to fish. It could have been there playing with the deer. Could have been. There was no sign of struggle with a deer. But there was a lot of deer tracks in that. And there was some deer poop. So I don't know. Now that one is the bigger tracks that was with the little one. And that's right after I washed them off when we were back at the house that we were staying at that weekend.
Yeah.
And go
You
ahead.
remember how wide these were?
6 inches, 5 inches.
It looks like they're about right at 12 inches long, maybe close to 13, something like that.
13 and a half, I think. Hold on a second and I'll tell you. I got a tape measure right here, and I got one of the casts right here. Let's see, where's my, from the tip of the toe to the heel, it's 12 inches. It's 12 inches.
How wide is it across where the ball of the foot is?
About 4.5, 5. I think it is. It's about what it is by looking at it.
Either way, it's decent size. There. Now, there y'all can get a real clear idea for how deep that thing is in the mud. What is that? How long was that one? 7 inches, 8 inches?
That is about, let's see, that's a handmade forensic tape measure.
Yeah, see that.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches wide, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, about 10 inches long, maybe 11. I can't tell. I can't see the numbers very good.
Me neither. Either way, it's deep.
Yeah, because if you find that picture
There,
of me pouring a mold, okay, now that's another one of the ones that goes along with that other. See how the dirt is kind of like grassy looking.
yeah.
Les told me that that's a fungus that grows on the mud and the muck. And I had never seen that, even, living around Summersville Lake. And it almost looked like it was lime, but it's a fungus that grows that grows there, like a grass almost.
I thought I had that picture in here. That's another picture just to give y'all a feel for the area that they were at whenever they found these.
This little area is, like I said, the lake bed is dry and lowered for the winter. That's several acres, and see how flat it is. So it's really not that deep. That's not very deep when the water is up. And okay, this is where we cast. I want to say that's the 2 small ones, but see the little circles beside the footprints?
Yeah.
That's my boot print. You can see how deep it is compared to one of the tracks right behind it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of that, in all honesty, comes into play with like how fresh is the track. If
Exactly.
it had rained 2 days ago and the tracks were made whenever it was all mud, you would sink deeper than 2 days later. But still, I mean, just the depth of them with the deer tracks beside them and everything. I mean, it looks.
We had a storm. I think it was several days before that, and those tracks were not harmed by the storm. So we guesstimated between the storm and the day that we were there, probably 2 days that those tracks were made. Probably. No.
Bama wanted you to know that's great forensic work. That's what you do on the street. And Bama specialized in the forensic teams on the police department. He's being serious.
Roger had a guest on the show one night, and I think it was Roger, or I can't remember now what show it was on. This gentleman was a forensic expert. What he did. He was a forensic crime scene investigator, and he uses his forensic specialties to hunt squatch. And I've got his book upstairs. I can't, like I said, I can't think of what his name is. And he talks about pouring casts, how to take the pictures of the crime scene. Well, he considers it a crime scene because that's how he was doing it. He said, when you go into an area, consider it like a crime scene, and use the flags, use measuring tools.
See, this God bless. I'm glad there are people like you in the Bigfoot world, because I'm not that. I go and I see a trackway and I take a couple pictures on my cell phone. I'll do a 30-second video and be like, yeah, it looks like it's 2 inches deep. It looks like it's about 10.5 inches long. And then I never even post the damn pictures or the video. So I'm glad there are people like you that do it.
Well, I sent you a couple videos, and I just did the videos, for me. And it sounds like I'm actually talking to somebody. It's like, hey, folks, how you doing? Les and I are here at an undisclosed location. We found some stuff, and I started, showing some of the tracks, some of the water, some of the area, yeah, I never thought of it that way, but to get a good idea of how to investigate this thing, I guess you could say.
I don't care, because just well, I mean, I know that they're real, and I'm not impressed with the trackway. I don't care, if somebody's got 100 pictures of tracks. I'm like, okay, but where did it lead? Did you see the booger? Did you find what it was eating? Did it leave, structure, all that kind of stuff. So speaking of structure, so this right here, that kind of looks like one of those rough lean-to type shapes that you see.
Yeah.
Where's the area, though? Is this in the same area? Is this a different location?
That's in a different location. That's here in the southern part of the state. The other location where we got the tracks was up toward the middle part of the state. This structure is, I don't know what made it. I'll tell you that. It and multiples are at a park. I will admit that. I don't know what built it, but the way it was built, it had to have hands, whatever it was. And the way the one support tree was up pretty high. So, and the rocks were placed on it. Like I was talking to you earlier, this is the one that's got the rocks on it.
The only time I've ever seen rocks in person, well, I take that back. Twice. I've seen it twice. One time I've seen a very large rock up in the crook of a branch coming off of the base of the tree. There was a large rock about 7 feet up. And then the other time we found multiple structures and rocks stacked up in trees and stuff. But then we also found where people had been going out there and making their own structures and leaving like gifts and stuff for boogers. And it was like, I think the people made those. The people made those that had it. But the one that I did find in a national forest where the rock was up wedged in the tree, it was like 7 feet off the ground. The rock was probably a 75, 80-pound rock. So
yeah, there's a structure that it's a rock structure is what it is. And the rocks are probably about 80 pounds a piece, maybe. Some of them are 50 pounds. Some of them are probably 40 pounds. And this thing's only about 4 foot tall, and it's got about 7 or 8 rocks on it, maybe. I mean, it's odd shaped rocks, but they're stacked.
Yeah.
And these rocks are nowhere in the area. They would have come from a long way, and for a person to have carried them a long distance, it would take 2 people. And a friend of mine showed me this, and it's kind of neat. I mean, that is a map of our state, lovely state of West Virginia. Go Mountaineers.
Oh, come on now. You do that one more time, I'm going to block your camera.
But that's some of the places that are, I've heard people have told me about something. They have seen a structure. They have seen a squatch. They have seen something that looks like a squatch. They, hey, Roger. And they've seen, or I've seen something, found footprints, or somebody's seen footprints. I even was at the West Virginia Bigfoot Festival last summer and took a map similar to that and let people mark on it, and brought a few places back and put
That's
on
a good
mine.
idea. That's a good idea to take a map to an actual conference or something and say, hey, show me on here where it was. This is what you were talking about with the kind of river rocks and the little stick.
Yeah. The sticks were actually, and the reddish colored was leaves, like laurel leaves.
Yeah.
And when laurel leaves dry up, they curl up.
Yep.
And I mean, when I stepped across it, I just happened to look down, turn my head and look down, and I was like, they were in some kind of formation, and none of those rocks were in that area. Those were river rocks. And like I said, I can't remember how far the little stream was, but it was like 30 yards, something like that.
That's interesting. I mean, who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows? You know, it's like it's their version of playing dominoes or something.
Yeah. A lot of people think that they do that for communication. A lot of people.
Could be. They definitely do leave glyphs like on the ground. Normally they're in a more structured form than that, but I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't use rocks or something.
Well, let me ask you a question. See what your opinion is on that. When you said the word glyph, a lot of people think that they did it for some kind of communication, that they've done it for years. And I don't mean just, like 40 or 50. I mean, a couple hundred years back, something.
The stuff that I've found and the stuff that I look into, I will say there is a Gaelic or Celtic kind of stick language that looks very similar to a lot of the stuff that we find. So I'm not talking about like, oh, it's two sticks laying on the ground, because that could have just fallen. I'm talking about it's a definite shape that was constructed where like the branches are all broke off to be the same length and they're the same diameter and they're placed in a specific pattern.
Like a letter or something.
Yes. I mean, you would assume that it's a form of communication, but that's thinking about it from a human point of view. And I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know. I've never seen one do it.
I've never seen anything like that either, or anything do anything. It's just like the structures. I've never seen anything do the structures. If I happen to see something one day, then I'll know for sure 100% that that's what built that structure.
Yeah. Now this one is interesting. This is definitely I should have showed a picture. I was planning on, just like I did the types of boogers, I was going to show a lot of my own pictures on the structures, but I'm gonna just point out where it's got the sticks going up in there that are all roughly the same size, and then it's got the one laying in there horizontal that's kind of wedged in there.
I think it's about 15 feet up in the air.
Yeah.
The one that's horizontal, and it's almost, you could lay a level on it.
I've seen that personally several times in different sizes, and 100%, the ones that I found, the trees that were used, that were shoved up in there, all of the branches, all of the auxiliary branches were broken off. They were kind of shoved in the ground a little bit, but they weren't from there. It didn't fall that way on its own.
Yeah, as you can see, there's not a whole lot of trees. That's in an area that those ferns are probably some of them are 2 foot tall. Some of them are up past your knees, and I'm 6 foot. So Les showed me this. We went camping back in the fall. He called me one day. He said, "What are you doing such and such date?" I told him nothing. He said, "Let's go hiking and camping and see if we can see anything up in the woods." And we went to this location, and he showed me this. He said, "I got to show you something really cool." And I just looked up, and that thing that blew my mind right there. I mean, that one stick up in the air that far.
Well, that's what I was noticing on a lot of your pictures. The woods where you're at is not very thick, are they?
No, there's places that the woods are not very thick, and then you get into areas. Now behind you, as you see the kind of dark area back there, that's a pine thicket.
Yeah.
And that area we went into that and got through it about quarter of a mile, and that's where we camped. There's a little stream that went through there, and we had a really good weekend that weekend, and found that night while we were looking around, Les woke me up, and he had heard something behind the camp, and it took him 30 minutes to wake me up. I was in my tent and he was in a hammock, and he said I was snoring. He tried to yell at me on the radio, and then finally, eventually, he just yelled at me, and it scared the daylights out of me. And I woke up and had my equipment laying above my head, and I got the thermal out and was looking around, and right behind Les's hammock, and I didn't see this till that night, and the next morning got to looking at it, and it had been there a while, was a perfect X. And it was overall, it was about 7 feet tall, but it was a perfect X in the trees right there, stuck in between these two trees. That one is at the park, if I'm not mistaken, down over in the woods. And that's at the park here in southern West Virginia. And yeah, Greg, see how not very thick it is?
Yeah.
So that's one thing, like you said a little while ago, Spencer, and Les has taught me, which there's the man, the myth, the legend right there. And he said, look around to see up in the trees, see if anything has fallen out of the tree.
Yeah.
Look for that size limb in, like a base of a limb where that has fallen. That's the X that was behind his cot. And look around to see if there's anything, like a tree that was growing and had fallen over.
The 2 or 3 things that I think everybody should look for trying to figure out if it's structure, and you can never really 1000% say, hey, this is definite. It's just, a higher probability that it is structure. But a couple of the things that people should always look for is make sure it didn't fall out of a tree that's up top somewhere. Because sometimes you can look up and I mean, I've seen it. You can see something leaning a certain way and you're like, oh, that's odd. And then you get over there and you can see where the tree broke and it fell down and just happened to get caught right there. But look up there, look for the roots on the ground right there, the stumps on the ground. But one of the big tells is whenever, like, you're seeing an X, for example, both of the pieces will typically be real similar to the same size. And a lot of times they'll be shoved in the ground on the bottom, but you can go over and pick it up and it'll only be in the ground 3, 4, maybe 6 inches. And there's no root system there. And sometimes they'll be shoved in the ground upside down.
Now, I saw something back last fall, and the way you stand, it looks like an X. And the closer you get to it, the trees were farther apart. And it was just the way you were standing to look at it. But you walk around, the one tree was here and about 10 feet. The other one was another way. They had fell that way. I couldn't find it, but you was talking about roots. I was in an area here near where I live, and as I was walking up to where this was when I first started, and I actually had the game camera and I had a backpack and I was starting to get equipment. And I just happened to stop, and there was a little sapling that had been ripped up out of the ground, and it looked like a walking stick. And the roots were hanging on this little tree, this other little sapling. And the roots were about 3 foot off of the ground, 4 foot, something like that. And you could see where it had been, like the leaves were stripped off of it. Almost looked like a walking stick, but it had the roots on it. And it was just like somebody had placed it there.
Yeah, it's on.
This is a part of Summersville Lake. And whenever we were out that day last winter, we found some things that was pretty old. This is a break that we looked at really good, and we tried to see if maybe there was some weather damage or something. And it was broke up probably about 6.5, 7 foot up and there was really nothing around it that would have caused that.
On stuff like this is just me. Whenever I find stuff like this, most of the time, if you will go 400, 500 yards in the direction that it's going, you're either going to come to a creek, or you're going to, whatever, something that it would have been pointing towards, a house, a farm, a field right there, or you're going to find another one broke.
Well,
and
that field looking area right straight in front of us, that was the lake. That was the lake area. Yeah. And where that was pointing, we had just come from that area, and there was another little, I don't know if you want to call it a structure, but there was a tree that was bent down and another tree bent across it, and a couple sticks laying like that.
Oh yeah.
And it was all odd, but it was old. It had been done for a while.
Yeah.
And it was an area of the lake that nobody goes to. Of that, I just thought that was an interesting picture because it was low to the ground.
It is.
And the sticks were placed in a different position because they weren't just, it didn't look like they just fell that way.
Some of the stuff, you've got to know the area and the history of the area. Like, for example, if you're in an area that just had a tornado happen or just had flooding, especially flooding will throw a lot of stuff together.
Winter storms, snowstorms.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of winter storm in this area, a lot of trees down. But some places, some of the things, it's like, that just kind of looks odd.
It doesn't hurt to document it. It never hurts to, it never hurts to take a picture of it and just to show people and be like, hey, I found this. I don't know what it is, but it looks weird.
Because like you said, and anybody else would say this, that does this, it's like until you actually see something or someone building or putting sticks together, Now this, let's see, I want to say this was back last April. We were at one of our campouts. Les and I and some friends, we have a group called West Virginia Case Bigfoot Collective. And
mouthful.
Oh yeah. CASE actually stands for Cryptids and Strange Encounters.
Okay.
So put all that together. That's a mouthful. And we broke off into groups of two, and me and my buddy Dave were walking along, and I just happened to look down and I saw this track or an imprint in the ground. Let me put it that way. And I noticed there was another one. I said, Dave, hang on a second. Come back here. And we was looking, and you can kind of see what looks like toes. And it was kind of deep in the pine leaves or the pine needles and the dirt. We found about 7, about the same size, and they were in a row, and they were about 2.5 or about 3.5, 4 foot apart. And the one in the very middle was turned the opposite direction. And there were some deer tracks. It was almost like it was following deer because the deer tracks and those tracks were in the same line. And we followed it and was right at the edge of what they called Little Canada. It was a little marsh area. It was an open field with moss and muck that's about 2.5 foot deep, probably, they say. And it was up into a little tree area, and there was deer track all over the place. So who knows?
Don't know.
Now this
is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one I was telling you about. Yeah. It's a break of some kind. We were walking around the park looking at things and just happened to look down, and we saw this break, and it was real fresh. You can see how where it's broke, how fresh that is.
Yes. And it's an oak. Let me ask you, how far is this? Just in the middle of the woods?
Yeah.
This isn't anywhere near like a trail or a parking area or anything. No. It's just in the middle of the woods.
It was just in the middle of the woods. And You can see to the right how it's broke off. There's a piece about a foot long sticking out there.
Yep.
And you see how this thing's almost like a perfect L. And at the break, along the part that's horizontal, about a foot up, the bark was smoothed, like something had twisted it, grabbed hold of it. And the break was actually like it was twisted, not actual like this. And it was almost like just something, because nothing had hit it. You can see what's around it and how there's no trees around it. I've got my machete laying there to get an idea of one of the pictures, how big it was. And when we got to looking at it a little bit better, there, right in the center of it was a red dot and a couple other little red dots right there. And I ordered a blood test kit to see. I thought maybe, that's possibly what it was. I don't know. Nothing come back positive on it because I guess I don't know if I was doing it right or not, but I don't know what that is. I don't have a clue.
I don't know.
And you can see how kind of fresh that is. I mean, if it was older, it would be a darker color.
I know I would have looked for hair on that real good.
Oh, I that was not too long after the beginning. That was about halfway between now and when I started about last summer. So I was trying to look at stuff.
Now, these we call leaners.
Yep.
And where was this at? Is this that same park area?
No, that's in the northern part of the state where that other structure was.
Okay.
The one that had the horizontal piece. That's actually not that far from that. There were several of those, and those leaning were probably about 7 feet long.
Yeah. I've heard people, the only thing, which again, all of it is just conjecture, it's just theory. Yeah. But I have heard some fairly well-educated people on the subject say that they think that this represents something along the lines of the troop in the area is represented by those sticks, because you'll see them changed. I could specifically think of one that I've seen change where a stick will be put in, a stick will be taken out, and then it will be replaced with a different stick later on, or like 2 of them will be moved. And then later on, 3 of them will be added. So
I've not heard that, but that sounds right. I mean, like say they change it or something changes it for some reason.
They definitely change it. I don't know why. It's just like bows. I've literally at LBL, as a matter of fact, there is a location where we documented some stuff out in the woods, and one of the things was these 2 double bows that I got pictures of, and then 2 years later, I think it was, went back and walked through there and looked again, and son of a bitch, one of them was standing up and the other one was bent the opposite way of where it had been, and it was pinned down. So I mean, they definitely changed the structures.
I've also, watching different casts and listening to people talk. It's like that is the number of sticks means possibly how many of them there are.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like you said, speculating.
Yeah, it is. I don't think we're ever really going to grasp it ourselves, because, they probably don't think the exact. Okay, now we're getting to the campsite thing that you talked about.
That's the grass area. See how it's gravel and grassy?
Yeah.
On top of the gravel. Well, where my finger's pointing, I couldn't see very good, but right behind my finger is the grass, and behind those little trees is the grass.
Okay, Danny, since you're going to be the one that actually documents all this stuff, like doing the castings and everything, just in future reference, don't use your finger. You will look much more professional if you just circle shit with a red circle. Okay. That's how I'm kidding. Don't do that.
Okay. Oh, well, some of them I did, but like I said, hey, I'm green. I'm new.
That's
this would have been looking out my tent and where my truck was sitting. My truck was sitting just ahead of that. Or no, I'm sorry. See the little hump, the gravel?
Yeah.
To the right, was behind the tent. That was behind the tent, and the tent was about a foot in front of that gravel, and it's a 10 by 10. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Now,
That's the peanut butter jar.
This is the peanut butter jar. We got the picture of the cord where it's broke, but that's the peanut butter jar.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought I had it tied 3 times. I apologize. And that's an AI that I think Les did that one that she described to him, and he was playing with AI one day, and he found out he could do the different structures, like different drawings like that.
Yeah.
And that's about what it looked like.
Okay. Not something I would want to see staring in the tent at me.
No. And then there's the Y sticks.
What, Greg?
No, I don't want it staring at me from about 4 or 5 feet either.
No. If you've never heard Gary Spike's son's story of it staring in the truck at him, holy crap, I'd have died.
There was one, I forget whose show it was on, but he said that him and his girlfriend or him and his wife was in a Jeep, and they had the top off and the doors off, and this thing was standing so close to the road as he drove by it that he looked up and it was right in his face as he drove by it.
Yeah, but you're driving.
Yeah, when you're driving, you're moving.
Yeah, that's different than whenever you're sleeping and you wake up and it's looking down at you. A little bit different.
Yeah. Now that's the cord right there. And
I admit it don't look cut.
Well, see how the inside is pulled, the strands. See how they're, because if it was pulled apart, the insides would have come apart. If it's cut, it's not pulled like that. So
I know one thing. It takes a lot to break a piece of paracord.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah,
a lot.
I've wanted to try this. Take it and tie it to a tree and pull it with my truck just to see how it breaks.
Well, was this the paracord tied around the jar though?
Yeah, that's the cord that was tied around the jar.
So pulling a jar off and tearing the paracord that way is different than just if you just stretch it out long and pop it. So I'm not sure that would work. But my point would be, did you ever find the peanut butter jar or anything?
No.
It still should have took over 550 pounds to broke that paracord.
Well, if you noticed on the picture too, I wrapped it around the jar 2 or 3 times.
Mark Green was putting them in trees with gutter spikes, with 8-inch gutter spikes, and they would come back and the gutter spike would be pulled out of the tree and laying there, and the jar would be gone.
I've heard stories that they would leave the lid. I left the lid. I took the lid off, which you can see that. And the reason I hung it upside down is because the first time I had hung it up, put it in the tree, the squirrels were getting in it, and you could see, and I didn't want the rain to get in it, so I just hung it upside down.
That's why you leave the lid on. Leave the lid on. If they're going to get it, that lid ain't going to stop them.
Now that is down at Summersville Lake. That's the tracks that I saw there, and you can see. I didn't have a tape measure with me. I just stepped it off, and that's 3 different steps, and they're about 3 to 3.5 foot apart.
Looks good to me.
And you can see how low. Now this is, we don't know. We can't figure this one out. Whenever we were at this area in the northern part of the state, we were going to our spring camp. And this was right down the road from where we camped. And I happened to look over, and this deer leg was just hanging in a tree. So we just went back and looked at it. And if you get real close to the joint and to the right there a little bit, you can tell where it was broke. It wasn't cut like with a saw. And it's just hanging in a tree about 6.5 foot up. And the only thing that we could find on the ground, we looked around for other limbs or body parts on both sides of the road. We couldn't find anything. And there was just a little tuft of hair laying directly on the ground, and don't have a clue. I mean, if somebody, I don't know.
The only thing that I thought when I first saw this picture was, because I assumed that it wasn't, cut like you would cut off if you were, dressing the damn deer and everything.
Yeah.
But I would say, since the road is right there, wonder if there's a chance that it got nailed by a truck or a car that tore the leg off, threw it through the air, it got caught in the tree, and then in the meantime, a couple days before, they came out and picked up the body and yeah, could be. But
it could be.
Could be a booger. I have no idea.
It could be anything. We just thought that was the weirdest thing, that this thing was broke.
I agree.
And you know how tough a deer leg is to break. Completely.
I ain't never tried to break a deer leg, but I'll take your word for it.
I mean, I've never done it either, but I mean, you know how a bone is. And that I know of, about a month later, 2 months later, this was like April of last year, so probably May or June, I went back up in the area, and I camped right down the road from where we were camping, and it was still hanging there. So, Greg,
whenever they threw that carcass back out in the field, the one that got stolen from your dad, did it still have any of the hide attached to it? It did, didn't it?
It did, but it looked like you'd caught it in the middle and stretched it. It was stretched over the rump, down on the legs, and then the top part was stretched up over, like just on the head. It filled it plumb up.
But the legs were still attached. The front legs were still attached.
Yeah, it still had the legs, but like big chunks of the meat was gone and everything else. I mean, they didn't like just rip them plumb off, but it was like the meat was just all gone.
Yeah, I was watching the guys, the old line, the other night, or from a couple weeks ago, and they showed I think it was old line. They showed a deer hide that had been, looked like a squirrel had, like when you skin a squirrel.
Yeah.
It was pulled off. And a deer hide, whenever you skin a deer, it's not easy to do. Not a squirrel, but
I tugged the skin down whenever it hung up.
Well, I'm not the greatest at I always let my dad do that. Because he could skin a deer and field dress it in just like the snap of a finger. I'm like, daggone,
Well, what the hell is this? What are we looking at here?
Okay. This right here is from a game camera. A gentleman sent me this picture. He got it on his game camera. He didn't fully understand what it was because he wasn't into Bigfoot. And my friend that sent me this from him, we want to go into this area and check this out, because that is like 12 miles by the way the crow flies from where I got the footprints that Les and I found. And it looks like, I mean, you can see what looks like the shoulders, what looks like, that's a blown up, clearer vision of of the camera, or the picture from the game camera. And it is an older camera, and you can see what looks like arms and what looks like the back of a head. And the picture, you can see it looks like a butt in the back of the legs of something tall and hairy. And he took pictures of the next day, he said, from that area. I don't have them, but that little tree that's going up to the top is, he guesstimated about 8 feet. And what looks like over to the right, a light, the different picture shows 2 lights kind of close together, and could be like a little one.
Eyes is what you're saying. Could be eyes.
Like eye shine. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
But like I said,
well, what did the guy say? Is this on his property?
yeah, it's a deer camp or hunting camp. Let me say it that way. It's a hunting camp that he has, and he didn't want anybody to go up there yet till hunting season was over with.
Well,
And
did he have any history of things that had happened on that property? Did he allude to anything more?
he said he had heard some stuff that he couldn't explain, and he had seen some weird things happen that he couldn't explain. But he wasn't a believer, didn't understand it. And my friend that will always talk to him, that's his friend, and he was telling him some stuff. He believes now, and he understands, and he realizes that it could be something that was making those noises. Or
if he still has the original copy of that picture, I've got a couple programs that would probably enhance that a little bit better.
Okay.
But whatever. I mean, people get funny about the picture stuff.
Yeah, he was real quiet about it because he was afraid, like other people, that, hey, I don't want to show this. And
Terrible.
The area that is in, once it gets decent weather, we're going to try to get with him and go up there and stay at his camp for a couple days.
Yeah.
And see what we can see if we can hear anything, see if we can see what's going on.
Let me run down a list of basic questions for you that we have to ask a lot of people.
I'll try to answer them.
Yeah. Well, it's just your opinion. Number one, first and foremost, what do you think they are? What do you think the boogers are?
I think they're flesh and blood.
Okay.
I can't tell you. My wife and I, for the longest time, believed that there's something, I guess you want to say prehistoric, maybe left over, or as like say we evolved, maybe we went this way in evolution, and maybe how apes. I'm not saying that we all evolved from the same thing, but maybe where we evolved one way, they might have evolved a different way or didn't evolve. But they're smart, they're intelligent, they have a communication system, they breed, they to me they have to be some type of flesh and blood, like a bear, because we see videos that people have of them walking through the woods. We see these footprints. Something has to make this footprint. There are people say that they are orb related. I have not seen anything orb related. The only orbs I've seen is in a haunted house or a haunted structure, ghost structure. A lot of people say that they are UFO related. Until I see a UFO land and something looks like a Sasquatch crawl out of it,
So you've never had any. Then you've never had anything like mind speak. You've never had anything like getting zapped or infrasound. You've never had like unexplainable electrical glitches, anomalies, stuff like that. You've never had any of that.
Now, equipment wise, I have had equipment do weird things. I've had batteries run down like that.
Really?
I have had my cameras have perfectly good batteries, and my radios have perfectly good batteries. And just as you start to go in the woods, your battery's dead. I was in the woods with a friend one day, and it was snowing, and we were walking around, and we sit down underneath this tree, for a little bit to listen. And sitting there talking, and all of a sudden they jump up and they start throwing up in mid-sentence, and for about 30 minutes. And I said, I'm getting you out of here. And as soon as we get away from that area, they quit being sick, but they were sick for a couple days, not feeling good and a little nauseous, but not as nauseous as they were in the woods. Mind speak. When I go into the woods or go into an area or, going to go look around, it's like I'll say to myself or I'll speak, it's like, hey, big guy, let's talk a little bit. Let's see what we can do. Or, I've never had the mind speak, but I've heard people talk about it.
You said you also do the paranormal thing. You also do the paranormal thing, and do you have like a spirit box or anything like that?
I've got some apps on my phone, and
you have a RF meter.
I have got an EMF detector, and I've used that in houses and gotten all kinds of nice, really.
Is it just EMF, or does it have microwave and radio waves?
No, it's just the lights on the EMF box.
If you get an RF meter, start taking that in the woods with you, and then we'll talk about this same subject again here in a couple of years.
Really?
Oh yeah. So have you ever gotten any funky smells?
I have never gotten a smell. Now, I have had a couple times where people say, I feel like something's watching me. And you just kind of stop and look around, and you sense something for a little bit, and then it stops. And then you just go on. But I've never smelled anything. I've never smelled anything bad. I've never smelled anything odd. I mean, I've heard, like the traditional, tree knock. I've even recorded some things that sounded odd, like tree knocks. But what is an actual tree knock? Is it something picking up a tree limb and hitting something? Is it like this?
Everybody gets caught up on that. Like, is it a tree knock? Are they breaking off a branch and smacking a tree? Are they popping their mouth? Are they clapping their hands? Are they just slapping a tree? I don't know exactly what the mechanics is that they're doing, but I can tell you this: they definitely do tree knocks. And whenever they do tree knocks, it's them telling others, hey,
there's something
got a guy running around the woods looking for us. Everybody pay attention. Or it's them going, hey, everybody in position, time to go catch some deer or coyote for dinner. They definitely do tree knocks.
I've got a nightstick. It's a walnut nightstick. And I've hit it on trees, just to hear it, just to try. And a couple times I've had like a single from a real far distance. And I mean, but like I said, and like you just said right there, it's like, what is it? I mean, is it pounding their chest? Is it clapping? Is it a sound that they make? Or I mean,
hold on 1 sec. That's funny. Hey, Moggs.
Here's our buddy. I'm glad to see Moggs in here today. There's a bunch of folks in.
Well, okay. What about the creepy feels? Like where you feel like something's looking at you and like your hair stands up on your neck and everything.
I've had that a couple times.
Yeah.
And you just kind of like you get just an odd feeling, and then all of a sudden it would go away.
You ever get that's a good thing. Did you notice whenever you saw that one at your tent? Well, I don't know. You might not have paid attention if you just woke up. But did you get the like deathly silent, like eerie? It's eerily silent.
Yeah, it was really quiet. I mean, it was, and this is kind of weird too. I've told a couple people this, and not too long after that, it got really cold. I mean, it was so cold that I got in my truck, turned the heated seat on, turned the heater on, but it was like a couple hours later. It was weird, and I got so cold that I had to get in the truck to warm up. I just had my raincoat on and a sweatshirt.
I have heard people theorize that it's not that the actual temperature changes, the ambient temperature changes, but again, and I would stress this, infrasound does affect everybody differently. Well, we think it's infrasound. A lot of people think it's infrasound, but let's just say whatever the weird anomaly is that they're doing that makes people sick and disoriented and confused and drains batteries, all this crap, it affects everybody differently. And one of the things very well could be doing something with your body temperature via metabolism or something like that, because there are quite a few people that are like, man, I just felt really, really cold, or I got really hot. The other one is, a lot of people say they got really hot and started wanting to take off their clothes and everything. So
yeah, I've heard people talking about the cold part, and I never did understand it, and I never thought about it till I realized. I was like, no, wait a minute, I did get cold, and I had to get in the truck. And like I said, I only had my raincoat on, and it was July, and that's what was weird, because it was July and it got really, because whenever I don't know how to describe it. Like, say, when you're sick and you're chilling to the bone and your teeth are chattering, that's how I got.
Yeah, but I mean, then again,
So
still
I
though,
don't know.
you can go hypothermic anywhere right around the 50-degree temperature range. You can, and especially if you got hot while it was during the day and you were out perspiring and your clothes got a little saturated or whatnot, and then at night it's cooling off because you're keeping that up against your skin. That could be 50-50.
It could be anything, because like I said, I don't know what, I just got cold, and but I don't know.
Hey, quick weird question: you ever been struck by lightning?
No, but I got struck by a Nerf gun one time.
Have you ever had a near-death experience? Have you ever died and been resuscitated?
No.
Do you have any family history of like people in your family being psychic, sensitive, overly empathetic or anything like that?
No. Now, my wife, we were at a cemetery this fall here in town, and I had my thermal out, and I had my infrared out, and I had a voice recorder out. Because I'd been telling her, I was like, "Come on, let's go to the cemetery. Let's go to the cemetery." And we went out that night, and I never got anything on the voice recorder. I didn't get anything on the thermal. And my wife comes up to me after about 45 minutes, I think it was, and she said, "We got to get out of here. We got to get out of here now." And I said, "Why?" She said, "Well, there was like a little gravel road through the middle of the cemetery at this section." She said, "I just heard somebody walking along the gravel, and I just heard somebody talking, and I could feel like we need to go. So we need to go." And I just sat there and talked to her for just a couple seconds to figure out what was going on. And this is not the first time this has happened. And we're realizing that she might have some type of, might be a sensitive or something. But in the family, no, I have nobody in my family like that.
Have you stopped and looked at any of these locations that you're finding this stuff on a decent ley line map?
No, I never. I'll be honest with you, I never thought of that.
You probably should, because I mean, obviously, it's West by God. There are caves everywhere. There's aquifers. There's quartz everywhere. You should see, because I don't know exactly where you're talking about, so I can't do it. But you should stop and look. And by the way, don't just like the very first map. They're all different. You got to look at some of the better ones. I'll send you a link for one of the better ones.
Okay. Yeah. Where West Virginia, the way the state is located, I didn't know this till last summer. I found out from a historian or somebody, I can't remember who it was that even told me this, that West Virginia has one of the largest underground water sources. It's almost like an underground ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have one of the biggest ones. Yeah.
through the whole state because the way the state is laid out, and um, the cave system and the old mines and the way this there's just a lot of underground structures here in the state.
Hey, guess what? That aquifer and a lot of the cavern systems coming from the Appalachian Mountain Train that runs down through West Virginia, that separates West Virginia from Virginia.
Yeah.
The same cavern systems and that same aquifer go to Daniel Boone. And for anybody out there that knows exactly where I'm talking about on Daniel Boone, that is all the exact same thing. And it all runs up through there and it's underground. Something interesting there. Okay. Anyway, so Danny.
Yes, sir.
What about, like, first of all, what do you have planned for the future? Do you have like you and Les have like stuff that you're looking at doing this coming year? You got a busy
Yeah, he and I have, like I said, I think it's like 3 or 4 areas that we want to check out together. There is a few places where he lives in the northern part of the state and I live in the southern part of the state. We can kind of, compare notes in different areas that we want to go into. I want to be able to go into a couple new areas here in the state and see what I can see in different places. I found out last week an area that I had been camping. My wife and I had been camping over in the southeastern part of the state. That there was some squatchy activity. I would like to try to. On my map, if you look on that picture, there's not that much in the northwest part of the state. I would like to go up into there and see if there's anything. That part of the state kind of goes off into the Ohio Valley, and
I mean, they're there.
Yeah,
they're there. I think this is just my personal opinion, but you need to keep in mind, everybody needs to keep in mind, I think, because I think everybody should think like me, but no, I think everybody needs to keep in mind that, like, it takes 2 things for any kind of sighting, right? It takes a booger being there or whatever, dog man, whatever, and it takes somebody witnessing it, right?
Yeah.
So you need to, it's a hard thing to figure, like, if you look at the Bigfoot mapping project, or if you take your state and you go on the BFRO and you put the locations in, number one, you do have to be careful about, like, is this person full of it? Are they just, did they make this up? You got to kind of sift through it. But whenever you feel like the stuff is accurate and you're looking at the map there, then you have to combine that with, like, well, this is just a very small representation, because if a person saw one crossing a street or a highway, whatever, that's one person saw one booger right there. There might be 50 of them, in 10 miles of that area. You just have no way of knowing. You have to kind of calibrate it. But look, like, here, I'll show you. I don't know if you can see that.
I can see it a little bit. Yeah.
Can you see West Virginia compared to Virginia?
Yeah.
And that's going down the Appalachian Mountain Train. These are all, like, verified that I know, like, a good bit about them. This is not the stuff where I just pulled it off of other websites. These are things that I've looked into, and they all run down that mountain train.
Yeah, your map is almost like mine, because the northwest part of mine, because I'm looking at it here on the wall, and the northwest part of it is like the Ohio side of the state.
Yeah.
And then whenever you get down into the Kentucky in the southwest, there's a few areas I'd like to check out down there. I don't have anything.
Correct, Crystal. The third part is that a person has to report it. I mean, imagine how many people you have in your area right there where you're doing all this stuff that have seen something, but they just don't ever say anything.
Yeah. I've talked to people, or even, listened to people on podcasts. It's like, and I've heard stories. It's like, I was 10 and I'm 59 now. And when I was 10, I went to scout camp, and I went to relieve myself, and all of a sudden I'm standing there and this thing's looking at me. Or when I was 14, my family and I was driving to my aunt's house, and we saw this thing run across the road in front of us. And, something like that. And they don't want to talk about it. And now that they're older, they're starting to open up a little bit. And because all this is coming out and people are understanding, and like us talking about this and people watching,
Right.
and they're realizing it's like, well, maybe I shouldn't be scared. Maybe I should talk about it.
They shouldn't be. The subject has definitely been less stigmatized than it was in the past. It's only sad because it's like there's a lot of us out there that would take real information and run with it and actually look into it more and everything. But that's just part of it. There's always going to be people that don't want to have. If you could see the people that write me and they're like, "Hey, I'm going to tell you this, but don't say anything about it."
Yeah, I've had a couple people tell me that. And
it gets better and better. Go start a YouTube channel. You'll see it gets better and better. Well, guys, we are almost at 2 hours. You got any last parting pearls of wisdom?
To me, I just tell people to stay open-minded, think about, what is really out there. I mean, there's stuff out there in this world. I mean, I say enjoy the world, enjoy your state, enjoy the area where you live, get out, have fun. Take a look at what's around you, because there's something that might be different the next time you go out, and something might have caused something or done something. I mean, I do it for the fun of it. I do it to have fun and to meet people. I do it like you guys. I got in the chat somehow or another. I was put in the chat with you guys and started talking to you guys, and I'm learning, just listening to you guys. And
that's Hillary's crazy ass.
Was that her that put me on there?
Yeah, it's always Hillary. Hillary is both a blessing and a curse. Okay.
See, I used to work with her stepmom, and I didn't know it till one day we were talking, and her stepmom was a girl that I worked with, and I thought it was funny because somehow or another, everybody that I'm running into, I know somebody that they know.
That's crazy.
And I didn't do any paranormal stuff when I worked with her mom, and nobody knew. I mean, we just watched TV shows, and just like, watching NCIS or watching the news, you don't, or watching a football game, you don't go to work and talk about it a whole lot. And then the next thing you know, it's like, well, you do that? You like that?
Wait, hold on. Because Squirrel's not in here and she's in chat, and it's very hard to read all this stuff. Something Leanne said, she's a good stripper. It's just Tripper. Oh, okay. My bad. How did I get that confused? We got to keep an eye on everybody in chat. That's all I'm saying. Carry on.
Yeah, you was talking about it because there's times like today I'm sitting, you see me looking, I'm trying to see what people are saying, and then whenever you said stripper, I was like, huh? So Leanne, you're a stripper?
All right, don't make it worse.
Oh no, I'm sorry. But no, I just enjoy talking to people. I like making people happy. My paracord that I do when I set up at a craft fair, I'll give something to a little kid, whether it's a necklace or a bracelet, and just to see him smile, and if I could plug it, I have buckyscords.com, or not .com, but just Bucky's Cords. I make bracelets and stuff, and I've given necklaces to people. This lady will walk by and she'll be talking to me, and as she walks away, I'll say, "Hey, hang on a second. You were talking about you go to church."
Yeah.
By the way, But I'll give a necklace to somebody just to see them smile. I mean, that's what I like, and making people happy. But talking to people, I enjoy it.
Well,
And
you should
what?
calm down, Leanne. I read it wrong. My bad. You should absolutely, you less anybody that you know up there, you should bring your butts down and meet us at the meet and greet at LBL. And you talk about networking. There's going to be a lot of people there. Come down there and meet all them. And
How many did you say was going to be there?
as of right now, by my count, it's about 120. I'm pretty sure it's going to get.
Holy cow!
Pretty sure it's going to get close to 150.
When you said that earlier, I thought, 20
that
people.
reminds me, everybody.
That make too long.
You have approximately 2 weeks to email or go on Facebook to the Woodwalkers page and click on the banner. Click on the with the events tab up top. Scroll down. I think it's third thing down. It says Woodstock 2026. But you have about 2 weeks because I have to turn in the form. This is now because we're doing the podcast thing and we're going to be well over 100 people. It's a federal thing. I have to fill out the form. I have to submit it. The head count has to be fairly freaking accurate. The lady told me within 10 to 15. So here's the thing. Please email us, message us, get a hold of us, and let us know. You can tell Greg and he can tell me. Or tell Squirrel. And I have to document this, and we have to submit the form saying how many people. After that point, I'm sorry, but if you show up and you're not one of the people, you can't stay.
No show go.
Yeah, the government. Don't even get me started. You should see all the forms I have to fill out. It's dumb, but
oh yeah. I understand.
The price of fame. Yeah, that's
the price of fame. Oh my. Well, see, I've got a couple girls I work with, and the one is she loves Bigfoot, and she's one of those people that just loves Bigfoot. And another friend of mine, she is infatuated with the fact that she knows somebody like me that goes out and hunts Bigfoot, or goes out into the woods and does this, do what we do our thing. And she at times will kid me, but I asked her one day, I said, are you serious about something we were talking about? She said, yeah. She said, I'm actually kind of, infatuated like that I know somebody that does this stuff and ghost hunts and stuff like that. I even had somebody tell me one day, it's like, you're a walking Discovery Channel episode, that I know, and Travel Channel, because that's where a lot of the stuff's at. And
hey, before we get off here real quick on the supernatural ghost hunting thing, what's the craziest thing you've seen?
The craziest thing I've seen, I've got a video. We went down to this little town not too far from here called Thurman. And Thurman is basically almost a ghost town right now. It's probably, they've got about 4 to 6 people that actually still live there. And it's it was an old coal community in the 1800s along the New River. And it was classified at one time as the Las Vegas, I think, of the East. And it has to its notability as having the world's longest poker game. It was 14 years.
Good Lord.
And there was so many people that was killed in that town that they said if you stepped off the train, you probably stepped off of a body. Well, a paranormal group that I'm friends with, they were down there one weekend, and they asked me to help them out with, because they had 5 buildings that they were doing stuff in, and me and another one of their people and my wife was at what's called the depot, and it's an actual train depot, and people have heard things, seen have seen shadow figures. Stuff has been thrown and pushed off of the balcony. So that night that we was there, I had 2 cat balls, which are about the size of a golf ball, and they detect motion. And I had one on each end, and all of a sudden they go flying off the balcony onto the parking lot. And we're standing there talking a little bit later, and the one group that comes up, and this lady says, "Hey, buddy," said, "I just got a picture of something. Look at this." And she showed me a picture of one of the windows, and it had a face. And the face was like in the glass, not behind the glass or in front of it. It was almost like it was in the glass. And so I set up my infrared video camera across the parking lot, and it shows the building. Well, about 16 minutes into the video, all of a sudden, what looks like it comes out of the window, a black mist, and it goes across the parking lot at an angle.
Shit, no.
And that's probably the coolest thing that I've seen. I mean, I've seen orbs, and I've gotten voices. We were at Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum here in West Virginia, and I got a voice recorder. I had asked the question, "Is there anybody here in this one room that wants to talk to me?" And all of a sudden it said, "No." Just plain as day.
That'd have been my Amityville horror movie moment. Get out, okay? Bye.
I just sat there and I'm listening to it and I'm going, "Damn, that's cool. I caught that on my recorder."
Yeah. No.
All right. So guys, I told you earlier, please, Sherry and Donna are going to do a show here in about 40 minutes. It is their first YouTube show. Southern Appalachian Sasquatch Seekers. Everybody pile in there on YouTube. I know nobody's a member of it yet, but go over there, hit the subscribe thing for them, give them a thumbs up, get in the chat, blow it up with comments. Pretty please. They're family. They're us. Please, everybody support them. And I think I saw somebody, it was Hillary, I think. Thank you, Hillary, that was posting the link for it in the chat over there also. But please go. That's their Gmail, Squirrel. Anyway, they're going to be on YouTube. The link, there it is. Hillary has it over there.
Right there.
The YouTube link is right there in the chat.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, man.
You said that thing at the meet and greet at the LBL. When is that? It's in a couple weeks?
No.
We are not publicly stating the exact date or the exact location. If anybody wants to know, just email us. But like I said, please, people, you have 2 weeks. Please let me know if you're coming. Okay,
and then go to the Woodwalkers Facebook page.
Yeah, if you go to the Facebook page, Squirrel created a whole separate page for it. Just click the comment or the events tab up top, and you'll see it.
You see what Hillary wrote? I have to guess.
Mm-hmm. It's really hard. Squirrel, why aren't you in here? It's really hard to. Nobody said you were. I said it was a mistake.
Bigfoot or flashers?
I'll tell you what, Spencer. I think I actually went on there and marked that I was going, but I've got to put Wanda Colton Abbey down too.
No, I know that, Greg.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying. I didn't know if you had them tallied up.
For everybody that emails, or if you have my number and you text me, or if you're, whatever, you call me and you say you're going, I'm marking it down on a separate list. It's way more people. It's only showing like 70 people on the Facebook thing, but I have the actual list, and right now we're at 118. I think the last time I looked, but
I'm still saying we're gonna have 200.
no, we're not going to have 200. We're going to have whatever I tell them, and then everybody else is going to have to be politely turned away.
Well, that sounds interesting. That's one of the little secret places that I've heard the LBL. I just know that it's land between the lakes.
Yes,
I don't even fully know where it's at, and I've heard things about it, and I've seen different podcasts be there. You know,
who knows?
we'll all be stripper poles at the meet and greet.
No, yeah, will there be stripper poles?
That is possible.
We'll find another way to make donations.
That's what I'm talking about.
Are you
Take my dollar. Take my dollar.
Look, subliminal psyop. Hey, Greg, can you tell the motorbike story? No, we
I
can.
can't today. It's too late. We don't have enough time.
No. Hey,
I do need to figure out what episode I have told it on, and I'll try to post it.
That's why I said last time, starting the new year, maybe what we ought to do, because I mean, Greg no doubt gets requests to go over all of his stuff in detail. If you go back, you can see on Sawdust Beast for sure. It started out on Chuck Slab's channel.
Yeah.
There's several places. Didn't you do it on Big Dog T2B?
Yeah, I talked about it with Jack Nate on Big Dog TTB, and then the best place for them to find it though will be if they'll go over to Sawdust Beast or Beast TV. And the first episode I did with them was it was episode 138, and then I've done about 8 or 10 episodes within probably 2 or 3 months.
That's why I was gonna say what we'll do is, maybe it might seem kind of boring. I don't know if we do it live. Maybe we'll just pre-record it so that we can get through it. But we'll do one with Squirrel. We'll do one with Greg, one with myself. Maybe even get Roger on here, and we will go over like a kind of origins thing and just like take time, which Greg, no matter which way we do it, we could do Greg if we just did a 10-hour episode, or we could just do like 3 or so and just break it all down. But then we'll take that and we'll just like pin it on the page. So if you want to see all of the stuff in Greg's own words, you know, like how it happened, which he's probably getting a little tired of talking about it. I don't know. I ask him about the motorcycle story all the time though, because
I'll try to, if nothing else, I'll try to tell it. I'll tell it live at the meet and greet.
All right, we'll see. Man, do you understand? Hey, people, just so everybody knows, at the meet and greet, well, I can't go over the whole list of everybody that's going to be there, but let's just say a lot of the people that you see hosting shows that have their own shows on YouTube will be there. A bunch of the people that you want to talk to will be there. This is your chance to talk to them in person for as long as you want or whatever, you know, and it's all free. All right.
Is Roger going to be there?
Yeah.
Well, you probably saw on the show.
And I'd like to get a picture of you and Roger side by side.
I was texting him one day and I told him, I said, I didn't realize it, but I was looking in the mirror and I had my hat. See how I had my hat pulled down?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I look like Roger.
Oh man.
I looked at, and I texted him that and he said, we could be cousins.
Bless your heart. Oh, man. Hey, look, we may have an autograph session. We'll have the infamous Wendell Mosley be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Get your picture with Wendell or by Wendell.
This is true.
Did you get did I send you a picture of me and Dr. Meldrum?
Yes, I did.
last year at the Bigfoot Festival, I got to talk to him for the second time, and he was at the hotel that Saturday morning. If I could tell this real quick.
Yeah.
And I had to go into town to pick up some ice to come back because we was camping that weekend, and I was a vendor. I set up and had my paracord. And I happened to see him standing out in front of the hotel, and he had a briefcase and something else. And I pulled in, and I said, "Are you Dr. Melder?" And I said, "Do you want to ride over to the park?" He said, "Do you mind?" I said, "No." I said, "Get in." So I had the doors off my Gladiator in the top, and he laid his briefcase up in the back seat, and we talked for about 10 or 15 miles down to the park. And what was funny is we didn't talk Bigfoot. We talked about our health.
Well,
and I felt really cool that I got to talk something other than shop to him.
Look, Yarrington said he'd be available for autographs.
I posted that. If you would look up from your phone and look on.
Well, I'm trying to read chat right here, but look, Yarrington's going to do that. He'll sign autographs, and we may do a sleep study on him.
We got to get a zip line set up for him.
Yes.
All right, this is the problem with the show. When Squirrel's not on here, there's two separate worlds. There's the chat world and what we're doing on the show. And we try to combine them as best we can, y'all. But, hey, welcome to Woodwalkers. This is what we're like. Okay.
Hey, how tall is Jeff?
I don't know.
He sent me a thing one day, and he said, "You ever talk to," how did he state it? He said, "You ever seen a Bigfoot and you ever seen a midget?" Or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, and midgets kind of make me nervy. He said, "Well, now you have met one."
He's either 5'3" or 4'3". I can't remember.
And he said, "Well, don't be nervous." I think he said, "Don't be nervous. We're good people." And I never thought anything of him when he was on the show the other night. He didn't look small. He didn't look
That's
short.
what I'm talking about. If we can get Yarrington in the background coming down a zip line with Bigfoot pole dancers in the middle of LBL, that's its own story right there. We'll take over the internet.
Hey, look, all I can tell you is I don't want to see no damn bacon in the wind.
What do you think the zip line is?
Well, have you ever seen those things on TikTok where they'll have like a midget with a toothpick?
All right, we got to stop saying midget
or little person. I'm sorry, a little person that throw a toothpick.
Yes.
Or a pole vault, and then all of a sudden the big guy's standing there and he's got a toothpick that hits him. I'm sorry, I apologize, little person.
Jeff's not short. He's vertically challenged.
He's vertically challenged, and he's sleep deprived.
If he is sleep deprived, he's overworked, underpaid, and underappreciated.
If y'all ever like get on YouTube and all of a sudden the Woodwalkers channel is not there, it could be this episode. It could be a bunch of episodes. They let us get away with a lot of shit up till this point, and we just keep pushing the line.
Spencer's going to text me this week. My show got canceled because of you.
I'm going to be like, Danny, now you got to start your own show, man.
And then I'll get you. I was like, Spencer, you can come on and you can.
No, I don't want to come on. I do enough of this now. All right.
Yeah. Well, y'all look. 25 minutes from right now, Sherry and Donna's going to go live. So,
all right, yeah, let's get off here.
Maybe if nothing else, if you can't find it, just going in. Maybe we get Misty to put it on the Facebook page, and then they just take it. Yeah. So
well, I've got a couple things I got to do, and then I'll look it up.
All right, y'all. Danny, thank you for doing the show, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Spence. I appreciate it. I had a blast today. I love it.
Cool.
Well, if Squirrel hadn't been out playing Wild Kingdom, we'd have had a lot more fun. But you know,
I want a video so bad of her trying to pet that dog.
Don't worry. She'll have a damn Cody coat by next Friday.
She'll be like, I didn't want to tell y'all, but I did wrangle it and get it in the barn. Yeah. Now it's in its own pen.
She'll be sitting there going like this.
She'll have a damn tincture made out of Cody part.
Yeah, she'll be feeding it elderberry syrup. Calm down. Calm down.
Yes.
All right, y'all.
All right.
Everybody in
Love
chat.
everybody.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Love
See
y'all.
y'all
Take
later.
care. See you later. Bye.
Okay.
Oh, man, look. On the computer, you have to hit okay. Anyway. Just turn me on, turn me up, and turn me loose.
Oh, look at everybody.